So, Soul. This is one of the boldest, deepest, most reflective animated films I've ever seen. It's taking Inside Out, Ratatouille, and Coco and taking them in a new, deeper, different direction. I'll start this video by saying I saw it as a white Brazilian. I have no idea what it's possibly like to be a black guy living in New York. I have a feeling they managed to get the representation and all that alright, but I have no way of, proving it. What I can tell you is this movie took a bold turn to ask very difficult questions that I didn't know Pixar would have the courage to answer. For starters, I'm gonna remove some misconceptions people had about this movie. A lot of people were thrown off by the main black character, a race that's very underrepresented in media, becoming a blue blob for the majority of the trailers. In other words, they were justifiably afraid we were gonna have another Princess and the Frog situation, where the main black characters spend the majority of the movie as something else, so whether it counts as representation is debated. I can't say it felt rushed, though. It's barely been 10 minutes and the main character, Joe Gardner, already falls into that manhole and becomes a soul. We barely got introduced to this character and the people around him, and already, boom, Soul World. Though that was one of my main complaints, the way they handle what I can say black culture for the rest of the movie seemed pretty cool. Joe's relationship with his mom, the barber shop, jazz music. He doesn't spend the whole movie as a blue blob. We do go back to the real world and learn more about the black characters. Of course, Pixar does it again with great animation. My favorite parts in the movie, of course, were the music concerts. The lighting when the band is playing looks really cool, and I really like the way it looked. Of course, we also have to talk about the Soul World. The design is really reminding me of Inside Out, but with some new aspects to it. I really like the design of the Jerrys. They're the extra-dimensional beings who rule the Soul World, and I just love how they're made of a single thread of ribbon. They have Paper Mario physics, and I thought that was really cool. Then the souls. At first, I really wasn't sold on the design of these souls. And guess what? I'm still not. They look really generic, and though we do spend more time in the real world with the black characters, I really wish they made Joe look more like, himself. With the blue blobs and cute little eyes and vague limbs, it looks way too much like Inside Out for me to like them. I mean, if they were willing to go that abstract with these ones, why not do the same for the souls? Do souls have to resemble human beings at all? I didn't understand why. However, I need to talk about why this movie did something most mainstream animated films never dared to do. A lot of, if not most, Pixar films are about a main character driven to achieve one specific goal. They're thrust into action by an intense inciting incident, and they're often accompanied by a side character, who initially appears to be a hindrance to them, but whose presence is actually crucial to learning the lesson at the end. The conflict for these two characters is usually time, the race against the clock, and the goal is the only thing that can stop a terrible thing from becoming permanent. Throughout the story, the characters undergo personal growth by bonding with each other and educating each other. That's what often differentiates Pixar films from other films. The change the characters go through isn't a physical change. It's not a change in their circumstances or surroundings. It's a change in perspective. Oftentimes, by the end of the story, the rest of the world hasn't changed. It's the main character's perspective that has. In other words, most Disney Pixar films in general revolve around a main character setting out to achieve a goal that will fix their life, that will change everything for the better. And when they achieve it, they become emotionally fulfilled and reach satisfaction. And for most of the movie, Soul follows that model to a T. The goal, the inciting incident, the sidekick, and the race against the clock. But what makes Soul different from past Pixar films before it is instead of going with a classic structure of having story beats and elements to keep Joe from getting what he wants, the film just gives him what he wants. He straight up achieves his dream right from the beginning. He wins. Like every other Pixar character, he should become emotionally fulfilled and reach personal satisfaction by finally being able to achieve his one true goal. Except, well, all I'll say is things didn't go as expected to avoid spoilers. That one element of Soul, however, is what ties it to the rest of Pixar films. All of them also have one element in common that is part of the formula that makes us all cry at the end, without fail. The false goal. Would Pixar films really be as remarkable as they are if they were run-of-the-mill Disney Channel stories about characters having a goal right from the beginning and then achieving it? Of course not. Most Pixar characters start their journey with a false goal of some kind. The goal that they believe will lead them to true happiness and fulfillment if they just achieve it. However, it's the rest of their journey that makes them see the false goal for what it is, and their change in perspective allows them to see what was keeping them from fulfillment and satisfaction all along. Most of the time, it's been right beside them, under their nose, the entire time. They just never stop to realize it. Woody thinks the only way for him to achieve his happiness is to get rid of Buzz, so that he can go back to being Andy's favorite toy. At the end of his journey, he realizes that his inherent worth as an individual doesn't come from the way other people perceive him. He was already worthy, all by himself, the entire time. Marlin thinks the only way for him to achieve his happiness is to find Nemo, and protect him from any further danger and bad things happening to him. At the end, he realizes that as a father, he can't be sure if his son will be in danger or not for every situation. All he can do is set him free and allow him to make his own choices so that he can finally grow up. Ian thinks meeting his father will finally give him the fulfillment and satisfaction of having the father figure he never had. At the end, in a very well done climax, he realizes he's had someone to teach him and guide him, his father figure, the entire time, in his brother. Joe's final realization clicked for me when I remembered a certain story Dorothea Williams, the leader of the band of his dreams, told him.
I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean. The ocean, says the older fish, that's what you're in right now. This, says the young fish, this is water. What I want is the ocean.
At first when I heard the story, it seemed important, but I didn't quite understand why. It's only during a certain moment in the film later on when everything clicked for me. And personally, it's a realization that I came to that really applied to me as well. I think a lot of people my age need to watch this movie, because there's a good chance it will make you realize things about yourself too. A big focus of the movie is what gives souls their spark. However, what Joe and most other characters consider a spark is more akin to a talent. Something you're good at that makes you stand apart from the crowd. A passion, something that can also conveniently work as a monetizable skill. And many people have sparks as bright as the sun. Others have a weaker glow, but they're still there. The question here is what counts as a spark? What gives people their purpose? To me, the message of the movie is that there's no such thing as a purpose. Many people loved and connected to Soul so much because its themes were what a lot of us needed to hear at this time in our lives. A time of uncertainty, fear, and existential crisis. A lot of you might reflect on this past year we've spent quarantined in isolation thinking you've achieved nothing. You didn't take that big step in your career. You didn't fix your bad habits. You didn't manage to finally turn your life around. This movie, however, tries to challenge that belief. That your worth as an individual, your very identity, isn't measured by tangible achievements. I was always asked the question, what drives me? And I always had a pretty objective answer, my job, my family, my friends, my hobbies, etc. No one ever asked me, what gives you your willingness to exist? What makes you want to keep living? My spark isn't my purpose. My life doesn't get its meaning from what I'm good at or what I do to contribute to society. People aren't born to do one thing. How arbitrary of us to think of labeling the entirety of ourselves and who we are to one thing we happen to be good at, or the thing we do as a job, or the one thing we do that is beneficial to our whole society. You're not a machine programmed to do one thing. You have no purpose. Your purpose is living. Just living. Thanks so much for watching the video to the end, so I'm being nice to all of you who did. If you want to watch Soul but don't want to give those Disney bastards your money, especially after the live-action Mulan, I have a very cool, very legal link on my Discord. It's the same one I watched the movie from, and I don't have any viruses, so don't worry. Since it was released online, it's already in HD. Just turn your ad block on and have fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.